Hello, good evening, everybody. I just got back from my walk. I've been really busy the last few days. I haven't had time to do my book summary, so I'm going to try to do one tonight. We're doing summaries of Saint Phanarius, the Holy and Glorious Great Martyr Phanarius, the Newly Revealed, Life, Miracles, and Supplementary Canon, Volumes 1 and 2. This is published the Hermitage of the Meeting of the Lord in the Temple, Camano Island, Washington, 2023. You can buy it at the Holy Transfiguration Monastery in Brookline, Massachusetts. I bought 3 extra copies that I'm going to be giving away to people who answer multiple choice questions accurately. You have to be the first person to answer correctly, and I'll do it spaced out over time. I just put one up today. So if you happen to catch that and you want a free book about a life of the saint, just answer the questions. Okay, sinking but not sunk. In 2003, this person, a man from Portland, Oregon, was doing some work for a couple that he had done before. He's a handyman. And one of the things he had to do was patch up a wall that used to have a heat register. And part of the problem was that there was a vanity sink partially covering up the hole. And in order to fix the hole, he had to take the sink plumbing apart in order to get access. He had to move the vanity. Well, normally it would take him about 20 minutes to do a job like that, but this plumbing had been glued together, so it was nearly impossible for him to get it apart, and he tried everything, heating it, big pipe wrenches, vice grips. He ended up asking the homeowner to help him, and then he decided he was going to take it apart at the sink at the top, the joint at the top of the sink, where the sink connects, because I guess that wasn't glued. But there was a large rubber gasket, and anyway, in the process of trying to break it loose and get the sink out, he broke the sink. The problem with the sink was that it was an antique. It was no longer being made. The woman in the house had picked it, and it was a very unique sink. It was her favorite color, periwinkle blue. And all of this made it really difficult for him to have any hope of finding a replacement. And he knew that he was in a crisis. So the first thing he did was try to look through the yellow pages and try to find the company. Basically, he was scrambling, trying to figure out how to fix this. And he was trying to find out how much it would cost. And in order to replace it, that kind of sink would run about $300, which he didn't have. Then he remembered a recycling place that he dealt with. So he sped as fast as he could, safely as he could, to this recycling center to try to look through this giant lot of junk to see if he could find a matching sink. He went through the entire place once and didn't find anything. He went through it a second time, being even more meticulous, still didn't find anything. He was starting to get sick to his stomach and break out in a sweat because he was getting really nervous about how he was going to solve this problem. And then he went to the rear of a truck trailer that had a bunch of stuff in it that he had searched before. And then he was looking around. He couldn't find anything. And it occurred to him at that moment to say a prayer to Saint Phanarius. So he said a prayer. And just as soon as he finished saying his prayer and signing himself with the sign of the cross, and promised to bake a cake for the saint, which is the tradition, all of a sudden he had this gut feeling he should turn around and take a look, and he did, and there was the exact same model of the sink that he was looking for. The only problem was that instead of being periwinkle blue, it was white. But he was desperate. So he picked it up and took it to the cashier, and it only cost him $20. He was super duper happy. Didn't know if he was going to be able to get the wife to be okay with it. He asked her, and she thankfully said that she could probably get used to it. So, there was another miracle of St. Phanarius. I guess the wife adds a little bit to this, and these people are from Portland, Oregon. She adds to the story. I guess these miracles really touched her life. She was raised a Mormon and taught that praying to the saint or venerating icons was idolatry. She didn't see any point in it, and she thought that doing it herself actually scared her. But then understanding and accepting the idea that there are saints and that work miracles and icons that help connect to saints that work miracles, it was a big hurdle that she overcame to become Orthodox. And she learned through experiencing these miracles firsthand that it's for real. So she learned through these experiences and talking to people in the church that venerating the saints and their icons and their relics is not idolatry. It's actually venerating the image of Christ and the grace of the Holy Spirit in them, in the saints and in the icon images, because it's the image of Christ. It's not we're not worshiping the saints. These people dedicated their lives to God and struggled so intensely that God gave them grace that allows them to help us even after they've passed and they're with Christ in heaven. They strove in their lives to be as close to God as humanly possible, and as a result, they devoted themselves to being helpmates to help us all get to heaven. And this is true of all Christians and husbands and wives. We're all supposed to, that's the whole purpose, is we're all supposed to help each other to get to heaven, to get close to God, to purify ourselves, to support each other in times of need. And the saints do that to the extreme. So over the years, she heard a lot of stories from different people about different saints helping them. And she never really felt connected to them. It was like, okay, that's their view on things, that's their experience. I never had that experience. She was thinking to herself. But because of this and other experiences she had through her husband being Orthodox, with the prayers of the saints and the miracles of the saints, she was able to come to accept it and become Orthodox herself. She was feeling pretty sick when the sink broke, and she just couldn't understand how the saint could help with that. And she was just blown away that it could happen to ordinary people like them. That they don't consider themselves anything special, but God loves everybody. And we have miracles, little miracles that happen to all of us every day. I've had multiple miracles happen to me and my son and my family this year. But it's not just this year, it's been throughout my lifetime. Despite the fact that I'm the worst possible Christian you could probably ever meet. I am horrible, and I mean that sincerely. I've made a lot of horrible mistakes. I'm still struggling. So anyway, she's very grateful to St. Phanarius for revealing these things to her, and she's been struggling to be an Orthodox Christian since 2004 when she was baptized. 9 minutes, we'll do another one. So the next story is Look on the Roof. And this is from Boston, Massachusetts. So this individual, I don't know if it's a male or female, lost a prayer rope that had been given to them on a special occasion and meant a lot to them. They never went anywhere without it, but one night on Pascha night, which is the Orthodox word for Easter, after the gospel was read, this person put their prayer rope in their pocket and used a white prayer rope for the rest of the service. They used the white prayer rope during the rest of Bright Week, and it wasn't until several days or a week later that they realized they had lost the one that was so special to them. This has happened to me. I had one that I got when I was baptized, given to me as a gift, and I had it for decades, and I lost it. I don't know what happened to it, but I've had several since then. And they're especially precious to you when you've taken them to special places like the Holy Land. I've been to the Holy Land by a gift to my father when he died. And we took prayer ropes and crosses and things to the Holy Land and put them on the tomb of Christ where he was laid, and got oil from the lamps of different places like the tomb of Christ and various tombs of different saints and the Mother of God. And when you have those relics and you bring them back home and you know, anoint your prayer rope with the holy oil while you anoint yourself and you're saying prayers, it's just a connection to the, it's a physical, real connection to the lives of the saints and to Christ, to God. It just enhances it and makes it more real, as opposed to once upon a time. If that makes any sense. Anyway, I got off the subject here. Back to the story. This person lost their prayer rope and looked in their pockets and all over their house and the car, anywhere they could think of. And the third time they looked, they even went around the outside of the church. And so they still couldn't find it. And they remembered they were going to honor St. Phanarius, but had put it off for over a year. So they resolved that they would do it every night and until they found their prayer rope. If St. Phanarius would help them find their prayer rope, and that if this was done, he would write the miracle down and add it to this book, which obviously had happened. Otherwise, I wouldn't be reading about it. So that night, she baked the cake and then went to church liturgy. And during the great entrance, during liturgy, suddenly the thought came to mind, look on the roof for your prayer rope. It's like, the roof? Why would it? Then it realized, the roof, of course the roof. He realized what had happened. There's a tradition that the sun dances as it is rising on Pascha morning. Usually the family tries to stay up to watch it. And a lot of times they're not satisfied with the spot they choose to watch the sunrise. So this particular year, for the first time, they didn't want the trees blocking their view of the sunrise. So they climbed up on the third floor roof, a flat section there, and it gave them a really good vantage point to watch the sunrise on Pascha, so they could see it dancing. And as usual, he was saying the prayer rope, waiting for the sun to come up, and probably dropped it without realizing when he stood up. So as soon as liturgy was over, he went home and then got up to the third floor window, looked out the window of the third floor and saw it on the roof, this person's beloved prayer rope. It was obvious that it had been rained on and warmed by the sun several times, but it wasn't any worse for the wear, or at least a couple of times. And went out and got it. Very thankful to St. Phanarius, because for sure they wouldn't have thought to look on the roof without, the help of the saint. Boston, Massachusetts, 1997 was when this story was done. All right, here's another one. A boy found it. So they left this written exactly like it was sent to them. I'm going to read it. Quote, "My name is Nick. I'm 11 years old. I bought a bike, and after I rode it in my neighborhood and left it in my yard, then the next day it was gone. My mom called the police and filed a report, and my mom also told me to pray to St. Phanarius to find my bike. About a month later, my mom got a phone call from the police that they thought they had my bike. We went to the police station and we got it. When my mom asked the police where and who found it, they said a boy in the woods near the police station, near the school, and brought it to the police station. My bike still looks very nice, almost like new. I think that St. Phanarius found my bike, and I'm very thankful." So that's Marlborough, Massachusetts, and this was written in September 2002. All right, we got 5 more minutes. I think I can squeeze another story in. This one's called "I Truly Think of Him as My Friend." So this person's brother passed away, and so this person had to open the safety deposit box because they were the conservator for his affairs. And the last time they had to go to the bank with the key for that box was over 2 years prior. And they had put the key into a yellow plastic box to keep it safe, along with some papers that were important. But now that they needed it, they looked in the box and they couldn't find the key. So they searched all over the place and still couldn't find it. And the bank was going to charge them $100 to drill the lock. They didn't find the key. So this person, which is a female, this person was very frustrated and asked her daughter, who was a nun, an Orthodox nun, which saints are the ones that help people find things. So she told her about St. Phanarius and suggested that she should get an icon and hang it in her house. She told her to clear her mind of any problems and put it in his hands and trust in him. So after a while, she went to look in the yellow box again. She didn't want to because she'd looked there already several times, but the urge was really persistent. So she couldn't ignore the urge anymore, so she went to look in the box. And after moving some papers, she was amazed to find that the key was laying there. So she doesn't know why she decided she'd look. She's already searched that box thoroughly multiple times and didn't find the key. But she also believes that without the prodding, the mental prodding to go look again, St. Phanarius, that she believes St. Phanarius did, she would have paid for the bank to drill the lock, and she didn't want to do that. So now she has the St. Phanarius' icon hanging in her house, and she's regularly praying to him for lost car keys, recipes, and things of that nature. And she always finds him, so she feels very close to St. Phanarius and views him as a personal friend, which I think is very sweet. Her daughter's Mother Macaria, which I see regularly posting online. She told her daughter her daughter told her about the book, and so she sent in her story to add to the book. All right, so here's a footnote. I'm going to read it verbatim. Miss Wintercorn sent this in when we first started to collect St. Phanarius' miracles. A few years later, in 2002, she passed away. So this lady has passed away. During a recent visit to CML, I'm not sure what that is, her daughter, Mother Macaria, told us that her mother did indeed ardently love St. Phanarius. She said that not only did she tell her close friends about him, who also experienced his help, but even when out in any public place, shopping or in restaurants, this mother, Mrs. Wintercorn, with much zeal, told everyone about saint that works. The saint that works, quote unquote. The minute she overheard a conversation in which was mentioned that something had been lost, she immediately shared the account of her miracle with great assurances that St. Phanarius, quote, would help them too if they asked him, end quote. Mrs. Wintercorn's final request was that she be buried with the icon of St. Phanarius, feeling strongly that the saint would continue to assist her. So, and then it says below that, dear mothers and sisters, in our family we have had many, many instances of finding things, sometimes in rather unlikely places, shortly after praying to St. Phanarius for help. None of our stories have been really dramatic, nothing like catching a fish and finding a lost ring inside it, for example. But these quote-unquote small miracles have happened too many times for us to shrug them off as mere coincidence. I'm recounting below a couple of recent instances in which St. Phanarius helped us. Alright, so that's the next story. I'll reread that next time. But I think 21 minutes is long enough. So, pray for me, a sinner. God bless. Over and out. And answer the story or answer the question about the story, and I'll mail you a copy if you get it first before anybody else.